Hey guys, welcome back to Brick System Brothers. Today I want to work a little bit with the parts lists in Rebrickable. I've been using these for quite a while to track my inventory and keep things organized in different parts lists. So a lot of functionality is available in here. What I have started doing is actually creating individual lists for different groups of elements. And what I'm in the middle of right now is kind of moving everything over from my previous lists of all the parts that I had grouped together and splitting these little by little into the other groups that I've started making. So you can see I've got a list for bars and clips, for bricklink orders, for bricks, modified bricks, and then I have this list here called everywhere else, and what I was doing for a while was dumping all the other pieces in here that I did inventories for. What I want to start doing is moving certain groups, different types of parts, into their respective list where they need to be going. The first option that you have for moving things between lists is a bulk edit, where you can select this bulk edit and then it gives you check marks. Basically you can just select whichever pieces you want to move, click on move, and then you select a list to move them to. Now there's not any functionality for large selection, so I can't hold down shift and go all the way over. I can't holding down control is the same thing as clicking them one by one, so that doesn't do anything. But basically if you have a whole lot of pieces to select, you're really limited to just clicking through the checkboxes one by one. And something that you can start doing to narrow this scope down within a list is you come over here to the groupings. So a good place to start here is to group by part type, and this is kind of what I'm trying to do with my different parts lists, is get it somewhat matched up to the way that Rebrickable groups them. So for example, I can group into the sloped bricks only. What that will do is we'll take this list of 11,299 pieces and show me just the ones that are sloped bricks according to the Rebrickable classification, and that ends up pulling about 1,800 pieces into the workspace here. Now from here what I can do, this is a sub-selection of the everywhere else parts list with this filter on right here. Now I can do the bulk edit and select everything with this one checkbox. That will give me all of the sloped bricks in this list in its own window here. Now from here I can move sloped bricks to my regular slopes parts list. If you check this box here, that will take everything out of the current list, which is what I want to do. I don't want to copy instances of my inventory. I want to just move it from one list to the other. Then you click the update parts. Now since there's 1,800 pieces in here, it's going to think for a while. I have had this throw an error before if I've selected too many pieces. It's also sensitive to your internet speed. So I have decent internet here. This should handle it okay. But once you get up over 1,000 pieces, if you have slower internet, that can take a toll and it will sometimes error out. In this case, we're okay. We had 477 unique pieces moved. A lot of those had multiple lots, and we're moving those out as well. So 1,800 pieces moved from my everywhere else list to my regular slopes list. Once we refresh the page, that will show here. I'm going to go ahead and clear out the filters. That will load up all of the pieces in the list again, and then it should show me the slopes list with all of those pieces now moved over. Working with a lot of pieces here, but decent functionality for moving things between lists. And I'm going to show you one more method that you can do if you are having issues moving a lot of pieces at once. We'll go back to the everywhere else list. I'm going to come down to the filters again. Notice that you can do this by color as well. If you're sorting by color and you have different color lists, pretty easy to just go through, break that down in that method. Let's go back into our category. I'm going to do some plates this time. We'll load that up with the sub selection on. 1,600 total plates. So based on how that went with the slopes, I know that this would probably be okay to do the bulk edit again. just selecting everything and moving. But I did want to show you an alternate method if that is giving you trouble. We're going to use an export and import feature. So I'm going to do the export parts to a Rebrickable CSV. What this does is it will create a CSV file. I'm going to call it plates. And then we have this plates file that contains basically all the pieces in this window that have been filtered down at the moment. Now, once you have that file set up, we can clear the filter. I'm just going to go straight into the import delete pieces, and I'm going to bring that file in to this workspace. Here's my plates file, and I'm going to subtract parts. So what this does is it reads everything in the plates CSV and it will subtract it from this list. Now, since we have this already exported and we have this documented somewhere else on the computer, I don't need to worry about losing them on my Rebrickable list. So I'm going to subtract. It's going to show me the results of this operation. And since I haven't added or removed any pieces since I did the export, this should net out to 0 like it did when we moved everything. It's going to think for a minute. But since it's reading from a file, I've had success with this even over a slower internet connection. Okay, so it did subtract all those pieces like we wanted. Now I'm going to open up the list I want to move those pieces into. The reason I'm subtracting them first is just so that I'm sure I don't have a copy, like a double copy of those plates where I don't want them. So now we'll go into that same window here, the same pop-up. We'll do an import. Again, we're going to bring that plate CSV in since we had it exported, saved on our computer. And this time we're going to do the append function. And that will read all of the plates in this file, and it should add them into this parts list. And since we deleted them from the everywhere else list, I know that I don't have 2 copies of these plates in Rebrickable anymore. So just taking a quick look through here, we had 8,600 pieces in the list before, and I think if I reload it, it will show, yeah, up here. So skip back in the video, you can see this used to say a lower number, and now it has the 862. So that brought in all of those plates from the everywhere else list. This is just a way to do it if you're getting an error when you try to move everything within the website. It's also a good way to have backups of your parts lists. Just keep in mind that as soon as you start changing things in Rebrickable, that's not going to be reflected in your plates file or your actual exports, because those are kind of cut off. Those are a different file, a different document, but it is nice to have those backups. So that's a couple options for moving things around within parts lists, especially when you're dealing with a lot of pieces and just looking at how within a list things can be grouped. So Rebrickable does give you a lot of options for narrowing things down, setting filters within a list. Sometimes it's helpful to just kind of see, all right, what plates do I have in dark green? And then you put that filter on, you can see exactly what you've got, really narrow it down, and you're not necessarily searching through everything. Another way to look at what kind of pieces you have is if you actually go into the page for this specific part, and it will show you what you have in your lists, both in your set lists and your parts lists. And then it gives you this nice color block summary on top with all of your pieces accounted for that you have in Rebrickable. So really like the functionality available in this website, and once you spend a little bit of time finding your way around how these operations work, it can be utilized pretty effectively for maintaining a parts inventory without doing a lot of your own Excel tracking. Although, like I said, I do appreciate having those backups that I can just export every once in a while and have on hand just in case something happens. I at least have a record of what I did have here in Rebrickable at one point, and potentially can just load those back into the website and recreate the parts lists from that file, from that backup. So recommend doing that every so often if you don't already. But a lot of useful functionality in here. That's what I wanted to share today on Brick System Brothers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.